Hey guys, so exciting. I can't wait to share you the tips and tricks to pitching to local TV news. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Danielle Crater. I used to go by Danielle Grossman, which is my maiden name. I went by that during the news. I was on NBC for 10 years across the country, South Dakota. I was in Louisiana for quite a long time, also Ohio. And I've also been on national news on the Today Show. So I've learned so much in my tenure as a journalist. And I wanted to share everything I've learned with you to make it easier for you to pitch to these local TV stations and of course these reporters. So we're going to talk about some things that you should always remember when you're pitching to local TV news, just as a general idea in case you're unfamiliar with how things work. So number one is always remember that reporters are so busy. And this is with really anything, podcasts, radio news, but broadcast news, they are on a deadline. So their deadlines are 8-9 hours. They have to complete one story. And that's just not just writing, it's videography, live shots, web stories. So they're very busy. And just remember that and be patient. Patience is key. So number two is you are one of thousands. Now we know that we pitch on Cision to thousands of different publications all the time. Well, our journalists and reporters are getting thousands of emails. So put yourself in their shoes. They're constantly getting emails to their inbox. So if it gets put in the trash one day by accident, it's okay to follow up. Or if you get put in a folder, they might get back to you a few days later. But just remember that, there's tons and tons of emails coming their way every single day, especially when they get in the office. Also, please do not call reporters. And we know this is kind of a word of thumb and something to remember as a publicist in general for any kind of publication anywhere. People just don't have time for that kind of stuff because they don't know what you're proposing and they often won't answer callers they don't know. So emailing, texting, and if you do have a relationship with a reporter, texting's fine because they can get back to you eventually. Now, one thing to remember that a lot of publicists don't know is reporters, they're not the ones that are choosing the story. So when you pitch to a reporter, they can't make the decision whether or not they're going to do the story. They might like it, but they have to go intern and talk to their producer, and the producer will give them the A-OK on whether or not they can follow through with that story that day or in a few days. So just remember that they're also going to be pitching your story to someone else in the newsroom. Also, as you know, news is ever changing. Things happen, shootings happen. The world is very crazy. So it's very possible that last minute, if a reporter ends up following through the story for you or your client, they could bail last minute or blow you off. So just don't get offended by that. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Hopefully they don't blow you off and they're going to give you a heads up that they're not going to be there or that your client doesn't have to do the interview or it's pushed back because of breaking news. But just be aware that it's very possible that it could come to a stop. You could prepare for something that might not come to fruition. Unfortunately, it is what it is. It's local news. And also short deadlines. So like I said before, a lot of these reporters and local TV stations, they only have, 7, 8, 9 hours to produce an entire story. That's make calls, get interviews, get video, do their live shots, write their stories, write their packages, voice their stories. It's a lot of work that goes into one day. So just be very patient with them and be prepared. When you are sending your pitches to local journalists, make sure you have everything already lined up before you send that pitch. So if they want video, if they want photos, if they want an interview immediately, your client is ready to do an interview and you have everything prepared for them to go that day. Because it's so important, because if you're not ready, you don't have all of the elements they need, they're going to move on and do a story with someone else. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of how exactly television news works, just so you're aware. If you ever do get TV interviews for your clients, you kind of know the gist of things and why it's also awesome to get exposure for your clients through TV news. So the thing is, a lot of these stations, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News, and cable news, there's about 5 of them, 4 of them, and then the cable news channels. So they're not all owned by the networks. So say you have an interview with NBC. It's not necessarily NBC News. It's not necessarily the network that you're working with. It might just be a local affiliate that's owned by a company that owns multiple different stations. So there are lots of different companies that own stations across the country, anywhere from 10 stations to over 100 stations. Hearst, Sinclair, Nexstar, you name it. There's tons out there, and they own multiple affiliates Fox stations, NBC stations, ABC stations, small ones and big ones in big cities. But oftentimes those big cities, they're O&Os. That means owned and operated. So those are owned and operated by the network. So if you have an interview with Fox in, say, Houston, owned and operated station, so the network is running them. So in turn, if you get an interview on a Fox O&O, it's very possible it can be shared on Fox Network's main website, which in turn is great exposure for your client. So and in turn, if you even get an exposure, an interview, a feature on ABC at a local station that's owned by a big company, maybe not an O&O, they can be shared to an ABC within that company, if that makes sense. So there's multiple ways that your client can get exposure on any of these TV stations, unless it's one of those stations that's owned by an independent owner, which is very rare. But the exposure is huge here because it can be shared on websites all over different areas of the nation. It can be shared on social media, and of course it could get a lot of clicks, which is great. So not only are they going to be featured on the TV screen in that community, they're going to be a web story and they're going to be on social media. So it is a win-win for everyone to land an interview on broadcast news.